Good afternoon, guys. Welcome to the 22nd edition of our Sofa Safaris. Myself, Brad, I'm going to be guiding you guys, and then Tom is on the tracker seat there, and then behind the camera we've got Ryan. All right, and as you can see, we're in the middle of a herd of elephants. Beautiful herd that we've been tracking for the afternoon, and as you guys remember from the last week, a stark difference in weather conditions. Cold and wet last week, and now we've got a beautiful spring day. And what a day to view elephants. So let's go a little bit closer and see if what kind of sighting they're going to give us.
So these Ellies have actually been very obliging this afternoon. A few minutes ago we obviously sat here with these elephants, but all in the thickets here surrounding us. So obviously not ideal for viewing, but as you can see now, they've just stepped out here, kind of showing off their youngsters to us. You can see the youngster here trying to suckle there from mum. Quite cool to see. And as Brandon said, obviously, this time of year we're starting to see slight kind of green flush. We've had a little bit of rain, and now it's getting to the really good times for the herbivores. So we've had a long struggle through the winter, and if the rain does continue, it should obviously continue to get easier and easier for these herbivores. And this is the time where, of course, they'll try and bulk up once again in preparation for the following winter. But lovely to just see, and you could almost sense that the animals kind of starting to relax and utilize all the better vegetation.
I like the way you said bulk up. There's not much that can bulk up like an elephant.
Exactly.
Oh,
if they aren't bulky enough already.
Indeed. Talking about a bulk feeder, elephants will feed in a very dry time like what we've just had, the end of winter, beginning of spring. This is essentially the driest time. Yes, we've had a little bit of rain. Yes, there's a bit of a green flash, but essentially it's still an incredibly dry time. Most of your grasses, etc., are still very dead, very dry. So a lot of the time elephants will have to increase their time feeding, anything up to 20, maybe even up to 22 hours a day, constantly feeding. Okay, allows for very little time for rest and for watering, etc. But essentially they would need to eat at around about up to 10% of their body weight every day during a time like this, which is where everything is. There's not a lot of nutrition in their diet. They need to feed a lot more to make up for that lack of nutrition. I can sleep in a little bit.
Get there in the shade.
Put you in the shade.
Come on.
You can.
Just a quick question from last week. Somebody's asking if our leopard cub from last week is okay. We can confirm the leopard cub is fine. We haven't seen her, but as far as we know, everything went down okay.
So can we confirm?
So we can confirm she was okay on Monday last week. So Monday last week she was still okay. What's happened during the week, we're not sure. We haven't seen the little one during the week, but from that whole scenario of last week with Kokavela and Ravenscourt, the little one did get out. All right, for now. For now. just while I've got one of my guests that I see is on here, she'll potentially know I'm speaking to her. This is an elephant calf that we saw or just missed being born 3 years ago.
Nice to see now, guys. Obviously, we've spoken about it a few times, but fairly intensive kind of flapping of the ears there. Just a very nice example here, especially behind them. But obviously, one of the main kind of methods to regulate body temperature. So just keeping the body nice and cool. They've got a massive network of veins that run through the ears, big, thick, kind of hose pipe-like veins. And of course, by cooling down that blood that's circulating through the ears, that nice cool blood circulates to the rest of the body, and then of course, as I say, regulates that body temperature. So when you're an animal this size and you've got that big kind of surface area constantly in the sun, you do need these fairly specific and unique methods to keep yourself cool. Some of those are slightly more simple, you know, getting in the river, of course, or mud bathing, caking nice mud all over them. But definitely one of the most kind of standout things that you can see right there is that constant flapping. And even if you look a bit closer, you can see the almost umbrella formed by the top of the ear there that you could imagine just shading those veins a little bit extra there. Oh, you're going to see something else now.
High fiber diet.
Yeah, another vital bodily function there. Oh goodness. Oh, there we go.
I'm going to let them cross, hopefully what will happen, and then we'll continue around.
Cool.
Be proud.
Yeah. Lovely to see, guys. Just completely relaxed. I mean, you've seen us pull up right here next to them, and not a single hair out of place, or you know, they completely have not even taken notice of us for the most part, which is lovely for many of you that have been out here before. You would have experienced this. Many people who kind of knows a thing or two about elephants, often these females can be quite protective and fairly aggressive, but of course a lovely habituated population here, and that's the most ideal thing about it, is that we're not disturbing them in any way. They're doing exactly what they would be doing if we weren't sat here with them today.
Choosing to ignore us.
Yeah, I think I would do the same, man.
So, question for you guys. How long do the youngsters feed, or how long do they still feed from their mothers?
Pretty interesting question, because it does vary, much like humans. If you're talking about as far as milk, that's what we're presuming that we're talking about. They'll be predominantly on their mother's teat for up to about a year and a half or so, and then be supplementing from about 6-7 months. We'll be supplementing their diet with material, going up to other adults within the group, and smelling what they're feeding, and in that way actually learning what there is available in the area. Quite an incredible thing about elephants is the fact that they've got this higher learning capability around, especially areas like this where you've got a fair amount of plants which are not necessarily nutritious or not good to eat. So those youngsters are learning from their mothers. As far as the milk side goes, they also do it they might stay with their mother for an extended period of time. I've personally witnessed elephants that presumably are up close to 4.5 years of age that are actually still trying to suckle from their mothers. But it is possible that it's just a strong bond between the mother and the youngster. So I'd love to go past it.
Yeah, you guys can see this the youngster here, which Ryan was talking about earlier, very kind of efficiently using that trunk already at this stage. You can see kind of picking up all the grass, knocking off all the sand off of it, and that's of course one of the most vital kind of tools that they need to work out in order to be able to feed off the vegetation, is to master the use of that trunk, which can take time, and it can be quite comical at times also, especially in like the first year. You see them flinging it all over the place, kind of like a fire hose on the loose, but not very kind of efficient and effective at utilizing it as a tool, which of course is its most important function. But here you can see feeding very well already there at about 3 years old, as Ryan said.
She's still grazing.
Yeah, I think she's going to be there a while.
It's interesting. What we're just saying to Tom is that female is not tearing branches down to feed on the branches. She's clearing the dead material around the base of that bush willow, opening it up. All that dead material that is lying down at the base is allowed for grasses to grow, protected from grazers. So by opening up those areas, she's now taking advantage of the fact that there's still good graze around there.
All right, question we were asked is if we're not too close to the cow and the calf, but I think the guys have already covered how you can see these animals are not affected by us at all. Both the mother and the calf have continued the way they were behaving before we even got here. A lot of the herd has even approached us and walked past casually, so there's no problem. Brandon wouldn't put us between the mother and the calf, then you're looking for trouble. But if they approached us and one walked on one side of the vehicle and one walked on the other side of the vehicle, it wouldn't be a problem, because then it's their choice. As long as you let the animals choose, and you always give them an escape route, and you make sure you've always got an escape route, then generally you're okay. And then obviously we've been around for a little while, and so Brandon and Tom have read the behavior of the animals. They've decided that there's no threat to us, and so we're able to view them like this. So yeah, just to answer your question a little bit more there.
All about body language, huh?
Just to add on, there's very few things out here that can be quite as impressive as an upset elephant. One of the biggest things, of course, is spread ears, standing up tall. It's quite an impressive show. As soon as you start seeing body language that would, for us, indicate aggression, that's when you would back off and give them space. Speaking of which, maybe I should.
Up on the wrong. Oh, there's this nice foot track.
Do you think I can get around?
Yeah. Have to go up a little bit and then cut back in.
this youngster showing us how it's grazing. We did mention, I think it was Tom that mentioned the fact that they're beating off the grass. This is an evolutionary development that to get the dust off. Something as basic as grit can wear down elephant teeth very, very, very fast. And for that reason, the elephants have evolved this process to beat the dust off what they're feeding off, to, I won't say totally eliminate, but to certainly get as much of that grit off as possible so that the teeth don't grind down as fast. Elephant lifespans are all dependent on its teeth and the ability to make those teeth last. Come on. Just want to give myself space so that I can put you in a bush.
Yeah. Build off to the right there. It's building. It's not going to make it easy for you.
Not at all. Wow, it's rush hour traffic. There we go.
Maybe not so obliging after all.
It's just cutting the corner. I can think of worse places to be. Stuck in traffic. Nice. There's a giraffe over here, guys, but she's not being accommodating. Let's see.
Yeah, perfect.
That's nice. As well. Guys, we hear some impala calling behind us, alarm calling. We're going to turn around and go and have a look and see. Maybe they've seen a predator. More giraffe. How far, Thomas? Stembok drop.
Maybe let's try Stembok. That's Papa Maning and Kari also.
The Malungas were enjoying the Nuntla, delivering steam for Nuntla.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Now we've got to go booger, my daughters.
Let's go check.
Just get there, switch off, listen, come back.
Yes, people, that silence means there's absolutely nothing.
Impala have a very distinctive snorting sneeze, which would that they use to let the predator know that they've been spotted, as well as other prey species in the vicinity that they've seen a predator. But in this case, maybe what could have happened is that they saw something moving around in the bushes, and it turned out to be a duiker. And now they're very quiet because they're very embarrassed. Making us come this way.
Brandon does the same thing, he just talks more.
Going where?
Down the right. Move them over. But Fazio, my daughter.
So you guys see, believe there's sea tracks.
Oh,
Back to the giraffe.
back to the giraffe.
Isn't Glovo coming to the Ndlela as well?
really seeing too much of. Right, tell me when, buddy.
A little bit more. Go forward.
Yeah, you've got a good angle.
Good angle here.
Perfect.
That's nice. So folks, these are the very handsome Nyala antelope, and they are the males, the bulls, two younger bulls, almost fully mature.
Back to his buddy. A very extravagant antelope, as you can see, with that very kind of shaggy coat and obviously the very distinctive markings, those nice ginger socks. But probably one of the most fascinating things about the Nyala is a very prominent, what we call a passive dominance system. So when it comes to competing for females, they're not very quick to fight, but they'll use that very extravagant look in a little ritualized competition, kind of side by side one another. That hair that circumnavigates the body, as we said, they'll often stand that up on end, and we see them doing a very kind of strange, as I say, very ritualized, almost dance, a walk around one another, very stiff-legged walk. And basically whoever looks larger and looks more impressive is often the one to take the female, and the other bows out. So very civilized, the Nyala here.
North of them, we were wondering if it would be possible to meet you potentially at about
Rather than just
2:45,
plowing into each other and risking injury
Dan 3.
to one or both parties, this system eliminates that unless it's two males that are of a very similar size, and in that way they would then lock horns. Once they've done this extravagant walk, it's very stock-legged gait, making themselves look very big. If they cannot decide who the larger of the two is, that's when they would lock horns and start wrestling. They'll start pushing each other around, and from there it can escalate to where it can be quite could be dangerous for one or both parties. That's really cool.
Nice.
Very nice.
And maybe you can see them on our drive.
Yeah,
Nyalas like that?
I don't think so. Certainly not with us.
You guys can see rock lodge in the distance.
lot more elephants.
Much smaller.
Oh yes. The largest and the tallest land mammal.
See that one with the branch on the back, yeah.
You can see that one went straight under its mom.
It's offside.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's stunning. There's a giraffe that's nicely on the road up ahead here. Oh, this is stunning. Absolutely stunning.
Very sassy little female calf there. Maybe a future matriarch, who knows?
Both quite sassy.
Yeah,
Both females.
there we go.
Yeah, folks, I apologize. I almost choked there when the one hit itself in the head with the branch.
That is amazing. What a little character. Dude, there are so many giraffe here.
Oh, even down there.
Loads and loads and loads. Folks, it's very difficult to show you on the camera, especially from a distance, but this entire ridge is covered with giraffe. So Thomas, we're saying that safely around 20 giraffe that are gathered around these areas. Now with giraffe, they've got a very loose social structure. They don't necessarily stay in the same groups for an extended period of time. Especially females will often move from one group to another group as they come into contact with it. So you might have two very large aggregations joining as one for a spell, maybe a couple of days, and then splitting apart from, instead of the original two, they could all of a sudden have three different groups. Okay, very, very loose in their social structures. Look how light that
Yeah,
giraffe is.
exactly. I was exactly
Wow.
going to say exactly that. Very pale female. Compare that to the dark female we saw earlier. Just shows all that genetic variation. Yeah, beautiful, man.
Sorry guys, the light female that the guys are talking about is standing in a shadow, so she doesn't
Look that light.
Looks light to me.
We won't talk about your two hearing and seeing this afternoon.
Hey, you got to risk it to get the biscuit. So we spent some time, I think it was 2 weeks back, with that very large male giraffe. And we mentioned, of course, the ossicones or the horns being balded, obviously a very distinctive feature of a male giraffe. And what you might see here, I'm sure Ryan can kind of zoom in at some stage, but you'll see that very kind of obvious paintbrush of hair up over the horns there. So not balded at all, and much narrower, kind of more petite horns. But like I say, a nice sign that these are mostly females here. We've seen, I think, one or two males, but predominantly females here. In this kind of loose fission fusion gathering, as Brandon mentioned.
I don't know if you can see it there, but there's also the ever-present oxpeckers, quite a large group of oxpeckers,
Catching
red-billed oxpeckers that are hanging around them. They look nice from far, but far from nice. Quite dirty creatures, giraffes. They don't really have the ability to groom themselves as effectively as something like an impala, which is very conscious of its grooming. They rely heavily on oxpeckers to remove ectoparasites like your ticks, etc. That is stunning.
So, just a question, and I suppose it'll be more of an explanation from one of you, is somebody's asked how quickly elephants and giraffe deforest areas.
I think it's important to note that giraffe don't really deforest, they're purely browsers, so they will be picking off leaves rather than actually breaking down the entire tree. If it's a large enough concentration of elephants in an area, they can deforest an area quite quickly, breaking down branches but also uprooting trees, which obviously would then kill the tree. Breaking a branch doesn't necessarily kill the tree, and unfortunately uprooting a tree, cracking it in half, or ring barking it would essentially deforest, none of which the giraffe do. Okay, they're purely, as you can see with this guy, concentrating on the top shoots, the newest leaves right up at the top of the tree. Very difficult to put a time frame to an area. It would really depend on the population as well as what kind of vegetation you're talking about in that area.
Right, then just a quick question about yellow-billed oxpeckers, how often we see them, but as we can all say, maybe if we're lucky, a handful of times a year.
We get the big herds of buffalo coming through occasionally. We find one or two or three with them, but definitely not too frequent in the area.
Not in this region.
Yeah, we have, I think we've all noticed in our years in Kruger and stuff, though, when we were all young, it was very seldom that you'd see yellow-billed oxpeckers out of the northern part of the Kruger. That's the only place you'd see them, where I think now we've noticed over maybe the last 15, 20 years as they've slowly started coming back south.
I know I'm going to get some flack from this for a little bit later from the guys, but even when I was a youngster, seeing red-billed oxpeckers was was quite a treat.
It's true. Yeah, both species were endangered until I think it was 94, 95. Huh? Yeah.
Amazing how quickly they've come, especially the red-billed oxpecker, how quickly their numbers have increased. For those that don't know why, mostly because of unfortunate poor farming methods and for a very extended period of time based around cattle farming. They would put their cattle through an arsenic dip to poison the ticks, not realizing that obviously with the oxpeckers that are around, they would land, the ticks wouldn't fall off when they were dead, and unfortunately they would be poisoned with the arsenic. The tick bird, the oxpecker, would eat the tick, and then of course unfortunately then die from the poisoning.
Yeah, as Brandon says, fortunately they have found new, better farming methods, and there's oxpecker friendly dips
Bird friendly dips.
the guys have to use.
As we go down, guys, we can now see how many of these giraffe are coming closer to the road. Big group. That's exciting, yeah. This is a group that's predominantly male. So we've passed through predominantly female into a group that's predominantly bachelors now.
Yeah, look at those much heavier set horns, very thick horns. These guys still fairly young, but if they had to kind of drop their heads down, you would see that balding top. Might even catch it there glinting in the sun.
Absolutely amazing how many. There's a youngster. Wow.
This is probably one of the most impressive giraffe sightings I've ever had, yeah.
Turning up a number for you folks. Tom mentioned as we were driving, it was a good chance that it's very possible that they've congregated around here, because we've noticed on this ridge, or just off the ridge, the large number of knobthorn trees, okay, which are currently in flower. And the flowering knobthorns are like candy to a giraffe. They love the flowers.
I think you can point it out, along with the knobthorns, the russet bush willows are as well. That's what she's feeding on.
Yep.
And the guaris are starting to get their berries and flowers.
So that's the place
That's
to
what the
be
bull's feeding on at the
at
back.
moment.
Place to be.
Yeah, lots of good vegetation at the moment for
Like
them.
a sweet shop on this ridge.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the biggest group of giraffe I've seen in a very long
Yeah,
time.
Long time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Lovely. nice.
Some more traffic.
More traffic on the road.
What are these called again?
Spotted rats.
That's awesome. Get out of there.
Slightly older one, and then a much younger one in the back, just by the coloration and the size. You can see the difference in age.
Very cool there, guys. Just a little heads up. We do have a little something in mind. We've got a specific destination that we're heading this afternoon, and of course, with how busy it's been down here, we are getting towards the end of our kind of hour cap, which we have on the Instagram live. So just as I say, a bit of a warning that we might have to do a changeover. But if you do lose the feed, we are going to start up a new one soon after that. Cool.
Thank you for that. Oh, right hand side. On the right hand side.
Easier.
We have busy.
And the planet.
Guys, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna stop our feed now, and then we'll get re-going again, just in case, like Tom was saying, we cut out. So we'll rather cut out now while we can tell you guys, quickly sort it out, and then we will get back to you in the next minute and a half, hopefully. All right, so please stay tuned, please stay with us. We will be back shortly, but yeah, see you shortly. Tom.
Sure we can make a wrap out of that.
Tom's getting really good, he's a good pit crew. Hello, folks. I thought Brendan was going to jump out.
Big brave Rangers, huh? Well, good afternoon, all you lovely humans. Hopefully I didn't give you all a big shock. But I'm sure you just had a magic time on your virtual safari, listening to all the sounds and sights. I've got some exciting news to share with you, really, to be honest. That's why I'm here. And the exciting news that we are starting to slowly get our engines running at Ulusaba. We are planning for a soft opening on the 18th of September. We're opening up one lodge, and it's going to be focused on the local market, on the South African market, which is good news, not only obviously for us here on the ground and for all my staff, but it's certainly, there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel for all of us and all of you folks back home. So hopefully this is good news for things to come. So we are getting ready, we're prepared, we're COVID ready, and we're very excited to start sharing all these amazing experiences with everybody in the flesh. So from me, lots of love. Again, hope you guys enjoyed your virtual safari. We've got some new rangers back, so you're going to see some new faces next week. Our trackers have come back. They've been with us for the last 3 days. The excitement is just phenomenal for us, especially the guys that have been stuck in the bush for 6 months. So it's really lovely seeing all our friends and colleagues coming back and getting as excited about this as well. On the good news, though, we won't be stopping Instagram safaris. Obviously, this is a wonderful thing, so we're going to continue with this until the foreseeable future. So you'll still get the updates, you'll still see the animals, you might see different rangers and trackers, but it's going to be fun. All the best to you guys, and hope you guys have a magic week. Big love.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, and
Much
we'll,
love.
we'll be seeing you next week. Enjoy your week and stay safe.
That's the England we've been waiting for. One 80 silver in the